decision on a matter, right?
That is
And
a
if, going back to what you said about marketing, if the inside hasn't caught on, let's say the public sector hasn't caught on to the whole idea, then even though we are trying to push on the outside there, we will still be having some many loose ends on the inside.
all right. Let me give you a more personal example. Okay, so I moved over to Grenada in 2015 or 2014 or whenever it was. So I have a ongoing consultancy. I have clients all over the Caribbean. I wanted to do something with Grenlec when they were about to introduce the electric cars, right? So I'm supposed to be a big time climate change consultant. I see that they're doing something on cars. So I didn't even have my vehicle didn't even come over yet. So I'm there in Lansopines behind my computer. And I sent an email to whoever was in charge of Grenlec because I ain't know the people. I just go online, see that there's a general manager, somebody called cover, I type my email, send off my email, nothing, right? Which you would expect. But because I've been down this road before, I realized, okay, see this? People do not respond to emails just like that. As much as people keep telling that they're online and, send me an email and things. At a certain level, people don't even read half the emails. At another level, 90% of the email goes into a junk folder because they're inundated there. The inbox is full every day. So you have no way they can go through all these emails. So if it's not a regular preferred email address, it goes into the junk folder. So what do you think was the next thing I did? On my cell phone, of course, I took out my cell phone and I called for the general manager's secretary. Because you do not try to call for the general manager. Because the minute I say, this is Steve Maxime calling, you don't have a clue who that is. His reaction going to be, take a message or, you're going to shift me off to somebody. So I call, I find out that, okay, there is a secretary. I call the switchboard. I want to speak to the general manager. My name is so-and-so and so-and-so. I sent an email to Mr. So-and-so and so-and-so. Could you please give me your email so that you can forward it? You see the difference? So that until I made that literal contact with somebody who is going to follow up on it.
There's only one action.
Yeah, but the story didn't end there, You know what happened after that? Of course he got it. But he did what all general managers do. As far as he was concerned, this is something that concerns his technical people, some Mr. Hobson or somebody. So he just had the secretary do a nice, polite little reply, right? Karen, you've been down that road already, right?
Very much so.
Good. So he sends me a very polite letter, which he write himself, The secretary draft that and say, dear Mr. Maxime, we receive your correspondence, blah, 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 blah. But basically what you are saying is, hey, I have time to talk to you. Talk to with the chief technician or somebody. When I signed the chief technician now, when I got the email from the chief technician, I realized that he copied him because that's the correct thing to do. But the chief technician, I move it until he gets something from me, reminding him that he push him, you follow? So I had to think, hey, I better write this man and tell him, further to your memo from your boss. Although you don't put me on, your boss say you must talk to me. So, like a true employee, just senior professional. So what do you think you do? Let me write him, and then he say, well, they're doing it in-house. And he doesn't mean that. You see? End of discussion. Nobody lose points. I come across looking like a professional. Cover come across looking like a professional. The Hubs, whatever the man name was, who was the chief engineer, come across looking like a professional. Fast track. A couple weeks later. A couple months later, sorry. I now moved to Montjaloux. My wife decided she go to church in the morning. I go to church in the morning. Who you think is not the assistant pastor, the deacon or whatever, the lay minister, but Mr. Cover himself. You understand? So I'm just telling you how face-to-face makes a big difference. So here I am now with my, if I can say so myself, my very attractive wife. So, I mean, they come over, welcome to the community, blah, 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 blah. Of course, he ignores me because I mean, as I would ignore him because if it's an opportunity to meet a man and a woman, I'd meet the woman first. I mean, the man is just a fixed at the side. Right? So we do the introduction, and I say my name louder. I say, Steve Maxime. Of course, they ring a bell. Darling. So I remember that was months ago, and I was by email, and he didn't have a face to go with. But you know, I sharper than that. So after Mass, when he coming around to do the little shake hand, welcome to the community and thing, I say, yeah, no, by the way, you know, I wrote you a couple months ago about so and so and so and so. If you still change in response, why didn't follow it up? Why didn't do so? Now, couple of past video. I mean, I don't need anything. When I said need anything, I haven't applied to anything for them. But when Spectre was doing the glimpse in the climate smart future, you know, we get a grand like vehicle. But it was not only because of me, but I mean, so that Pitt know these people and things, right? But the name recognition. Fast forward to there was a conference here from the Green Climate Fund. When Cover walked in there, Maxime. Now have my colleagues now figuring that I hiding things. They're like, you know, me and he's so tight, you know, how come you and tell me the head of Grand Lake is your partner in that kind of way? But it just shows what that face-to-face interaction is about, right? And I'm telling you this, for all of those of you who feel you don't want to, you know, you don't want to be in like that, you don't want to meet nobody, I just stay in the background. You stay in the background, nobody ain't gonna know you exist, right? I'm not suggesting that you be pushy here, don't get me wrong, right? In nothing that I've discussed here have I said that I sit down outside the man's office and when he come out say, it's me, you know, it's me, Mr. Maxime. You can't remember me. I didn't do any of that. I didn't know the man from Adam. I didn't know he was a lay minister or wherever it is he is. I sit down there in the service and I hear the name and I tell myself it can't have two Jamaican covers in St. George's, right? It turned out to be him, right? So I'm telling you all this to say that as much as we want to send an email and write a report and things, this region is still a face-to-face region. People like to see who they're dealing with, right? And because guys, give me 1 second. Yeah. No, okay. Just give me 1 second. You all can carry on your conversation while I open this gate here.
Okay. No, Mr. Maxime is so correct, with that face-to-face thing. I guess Wani could even attest to that,
Look like, oh, it's you!
Yes, for real.
And now it's you, and the situation changes.
I tell you, just like that.
You know? But Kenya is from St. Vincent. Kenya, you there?
Who take Kenya from St. Vincent?
Yes, I'm here.
Which country are you originally from?
I'm back.
Which? I'm sorry.
Where are you from, Kenya?
Where I'm from?
Isn't that what
I'm from St. Vincent and Grenadines, from Gomé.
Right.
That's the Gomé area.
I don't want to know the details, but I wanted to go down the road. It could get dangerous.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Do you get a sense, not you now, I'm asking Steve, do you get a sense that certain people from the Caribbean seem to do marketing better than other persons?
Oh yes, I mean,
Of course. Barbados and Jamaica.
Exactly. Anybody who has been around the entire region will know that Barbadians can sell rubbish in a bag if you get a match.
Jamaica as well.
I can tell you that.
Jamaica. I already put up mahogany birds, right?
Oh, yes.
Right.
That's not Ulster. They're the capital of the Caribbean, you know?
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, the thing is that there's a difference between marketing and showing off.
Yeah, the perception, the Bajan think they're the capital of the Caribbean, yeah?
There's a perception that Trinidad show off to it. I mean, so even though I'm a Trinidad, I have to admit that, right? I have seen us do it, especially during the oil boom years, right? I remember when Trinidadians used to move around the Caribbean. I mean, remember I am a young professional moving about the Caribbean, and you get all that flack once you see you're from Trinidad. You know, you already see the expressions on their face, and people will show off plenty. There was a time when, if you were foolish enough to come with EC currency into Trinidad, they laugh at you, you know. Because remember, we were riding high in those days,
Right.
when you line with a Trini in those days and you tell them like you go and get a drink rum, they laugh at you. We don't drink rum again, boy. We don't drink them thing again. We just use rum to bathe dead and thing, but we drinking Grand Old Pal whiskey and thing. You understand? So in terms of countries in the region that have, attitude, Trinidad right up there with the top of them, right? But in terms of real active marketing, you don't want anything with Bajans and Jamaican. Another set of people who, a lot of you have never interacted with Bahamians. How many of you have interacted with Bahamians?
I did.
Bahamians are on a different level.
Yep.
If you think Kingston is Miami 20, Miami is Kingston 21, then Bahamians already know they're in America. Because when you transfer from Nassau, no, you're laughing. When you transfer from Nassau to Miami,
yep.
Immigration is U.S. immigration clearing you in Nassau. So when you walk off the plane, in Miami, you technically you're already in the U.S. By the time you step on the plane in Nassau, you're already in the U.S. So there's no outgoing immigration and thing in Miami, right? So Karen, you've been to Bahamas, right?
Yeah, once.
Karen?
Yeah, once.
Oh, okay, right. But you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I understand.
Well, Cayman to a different extent, because Cayman is not a full CARICOM member and is a overseas territory. So they have a different approach to marketing and so because they're focused on British and Europe.
And British and Europe, mainly the European countries.
Mainly European, right? Mm-hmm. So even when you're discussing marketing, it's not a uniform sort of approach throughout the Caribbean. The top Surinamese, they are focused on Holland and Europe, right? Very rare they'll concentrate on the US.
I love Suriname.
Sorry?
I love Surinamese.
Me too.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Janet.
Mr. Maxime, could you? I'm in class. You're gonna see me, but I'm kind of distracted for a minute. I'm trying to pay for extra. My daughter is one of those coming down on that flight from the UK, the repatriation for students.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to fix up her. I'm paying for an extra flight for her, so I'm really distracted. But I hear.
No problem.
If you're hearing me, it's because okay.
Because you're doing your digital transfers, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, people. So when we're talking about, as I said, marketing operations throughout the Caribbean, Barbados will definitely be in a category by themselves. So too with Jamaica. Okay.
Steve, I went for a photo from 1998 to show you guys. That's me and some from all the islands.
Mm-hmm.
See me there?
Where are you?
Gray and white?
In an orange.
Lord.
I'm to this side over here.
Okay, right.
Just over that white lady, Miss Wendy Rod.
Okay, right.
That's 98. So I had a combination of people from all the islands. You see our signatures there from the different islands,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what did you find out in terms of marketing skills?
This was a skills training, a spin skills training. It was an international one done by this white man here. Is a billionaire. Well, I don't know if he's alive still. Hector Valentine, and he brought down his facilitator over here, Wendy Rod.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some Bahamians, Jamaicans. We have Lucian from Bahamas. We had from Turks and Caicos, all the islands.
Right.
Afternoon, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
Hi.
Belize. And trust me, we were able to learn a lot about the culture of the different islands and stuff like that. It was interesting.
Mm-hmm. But as I said,
some interaction for like 10 days.
Okay, cool. So we can agree that not only is there a perceived difference in approach when you talk about marketing in the various islands, but that you have very distinct cultural overlays as well. Now, the good thing about you guys is that you'll be primarily talking to a local audience first, right? Because the CSOs that you're going to interact with are going to be CSOs in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique in the first instance, right? So that your understanding of the cultural undertones will be different. So if you're trying to sell a product or a service in Trinidad, let's say, or even better yet, in Guyana or in Suriname, because there you would have now to really understand the term indigenous people in a whole new light, right? Because whereas I think when we had a face-to-face class, you all were telling me that there are indigenous people in Grenada. And we're not arguing that point now. What I'm saying is that in those countries, you have a ministry and everything, to support those people who are easily identifiable. They're geographically separated, right? So your Wayaka would be in region 2 and in Guyana, that type of thing. And in Suriname, you would have your people down in Brokopondo would be your indigenous, what used to be called Bush Negroes long time, which is no longer politically correct. But your Afro-Surinamese, your pure Afro-Surinamese, people who celebrate Ketikoti. Who said they were down to Suriname before? Was it you, Karen?
Yeah, I've been there before.
And who? You too, Vonnie?
Vonnie stepped out for a few minutes to send a message.
Yeah. Vonnie. Oh, your Vonnie stepped out. Okay. Yeah. So if you've been to Suriname, especially around July.
Yeah, they have a thing they have around July.
They have Ketikoti, which is like their emancipation, their Ketikoti chain, right? So that when you operate in a culture like that, you need your message. The message has to cater for the different layers in the society. So whereas one can assume that you could get away with one standard message here in Grenada, if you're doing something similar in Suriname, you'd have to know if you're catering to the Afro-Surinamese, if you're catering to the very, very large Indonesian and Javanese population, right? And then of course, if you're catering to the Dutch, I mean the Dutch as in the white Dutch,
Guyana is not far from them with that same type of culture, because the different districts in Guyana have the same kind of indigenous kind of people, the Amerindians, to that section. So you always have to send different messages.
When I was talking about the Wayaka is in region 2. I mean, thing is divided into 10 regions, right? And some of the communities in the real hinterlands, right? The kind of places where you have to, you have to go down in a longboat, for about an hour on a river. I mean, it used to be one whole hour on a river. I mean, and then you break out in a little clearing. And I mean, and this is something, I mean, and we're talking about marketing generally, but this is something that the most spectacular thing that ever happened to me, apart from seeing piranha live in Guyana, is to go down the river in a rope. Not a rope.
I don't know. A pipirit.
Sorry?
A pipirit.
Yeah. And somebody's mic is on. Somebody's mic is on.
Camel Greenwich.
Camel Greenwich. Thank you. Yeah, so no problem. So you go down to this clearing, because that's all it is, eh? You're on the river all the time, jungle on both sides. And you come into this clearing, and there's something wanting to be a jetty when it grew up, which is just like 2 logs sort of fastened down that they tie the boat up onto. And you have to balance on these logs now and get into the clearing. And I mean, this has stuck with me for years. We got into the clearing, and do you know what we heard? On a boombox. So that's to tell you how long ago it was. We're talking about a boombox with cassette tapes and things. Bob Marley blasting away. Our down river in an Amerindian community. And that was just to show the penetration of reggae music. I mean, Bob Marley blasting away, no woman, no cry, in the middle of the jungle. So that too tells us something about how you get your message across. Messaging through music, messaging through understanding the culture that you're dealing with, especially when that culture has, as I said, various layers, right? The same message you would want to use in Suriname, in Broco Pondo, where you really have a strong Bush Negro community. It's different than the message you would want to use in Belize, in Toledo in Belize, where they have a strong Garifuna population, you know. And that whole section, there's a whole section down there, right, in Punta Gorda that is only for Garifuna. It's almost like a reservation in the US style reservation where only people who have Garifuna blood can own land down there. So it's like communal property, but only Garifuna, people who could trace Garifuna into the bloodline can own land there. Just like in a reservation in Wyoming or one of those US states, right? So as I said, your job is going to be easier in the early stages because you're only going to be dealing with civil society organizations in Grenada. As you become more qualified, more experienced, and you start spreading your wings, all your life will not be spent working with CSOs in Grenada. And then you would have to, you know, make sure that you could adjust and tailor your message to suit the society that you're dealing with. And in those cases, I can assure you that remote messaging alone will not be enough. Because whereas I can pick up the phone or do a Zoom chat with a colleague in Suriname, if I had never met that person before, it's going to be more difficult to get anything done, including business. You know, so it doesn't have to be just, you know, sharing community development stuff. We're talking about actual business, right? Because just last year I was doing a project where I had to talk to the Minister of Agriculture in Suriname, and there was a young lady there, his advisor, who was doing some of the translating. His English was good, but it wasn't perfect, right? And one of the first things he said, and that's just a perception thing, he said, you know, you Caribbeans, listen to this, listen to this choice of word. You Caribbeans take most of the project for yourself. So here I am. Now the difficulty here is that I had never met the man. The man had never met me. I would not have gotten that same reaction from a minister that I knew. It was in days when I used to be in Suriname every other month. That person, even if he taught it, he wouldn't say it like that. He would say, you know, Steve, make sure that you fellas don't get the majority of the project, right? But this man just made a blanket statement. And unfortunately, it came to pass because I haven't heard anything about the project, and I don't know if they're going to include Suriname in it anyhow, right? So as part of your messaging, right? Because remember that marketing is about communication, and it's about how do you impress upon your client or your customer that you have a service or a product that is really what they need, right? Or if not need, at least want. Yeah? Questions? Comments? Anybody awake still?
So you're correct. Oh, Belinda is saying so.
No, I was just saying I'm awake.
Okay, all right.
I was saying you're correct because you see, we have to know who we're communicating with, and we must bring across the right message. We must be able to understand the language that they speak as well and be able to relate to them.
And whether you're going to go dialect or you're going to go formal English, you know, there are some messages that do not carry over well in formal English.
Yes.
You know, they just don't. They just don't, right? Some of the ads that I'm very partial to here in Grenada is there's an ad for a specific GUT credit union, a young lady with a guitar and a young fellow talking, and you all know that one? I think it's GUT credit union. Grenada Union Teachers Credit Union. You all familiar with that ad? Anybody?
You know that community credit union.
You know that ad, right?
Right, yes.
That I find the combination of her voice, his diction, I find it particularly arresting. So even though I'm not in the market for credit union services, you know, every time the ad comes on, I tend to pay attention because something about it hits a chord with me, literally, right? There are other ads that, you know, that hit you for one reason or another because of the use of the vernacular, right? And I think depending on the demographic that you're aiming at, you want to use rap style advertisement if it's a younger, you know, a younger audience you're going to. There's a demographic that if you do your ad in rap styling, they're not even going to listen to it. Well, they won't even hear it, to be quite honest, because as far as they're concerned, you know, the rap music thing is trippiness anyhow. So,
well, people down here can rap.
Kevin. All right then, the attempts at rap. Okay, Kevin, the attempts at rap will not move that kind of audience, right? You have, depending on where the messaging is headed, you know, you want to be sure that all the non-verbal communication matches what you're saying in words or in the prose that you've written across the screen. Yeah? Cool, Mr. Fletcher?
You see, what I'll say is that because Grenada is such a small country, because we're used to seeing certain, whether it be soca artists or other persons, when they pretend to be somebody they're not, is a big laugh. So if on a commercial they're pretending to be like a rap star or a gangster, it's a joke.
It's a joke for which demographic, friend? It's not a joke for the other people who wear the same gold chains like them. You know? What do you think about that?
They ain't had the money.
Now you're going down. So depending on what is being sold or marketed, if you have your demographics figured out properly, then the type of message you're sending with a young hip hop group or whatever, a would-be hip hop group with their fake gold chain and the pants hanging off the behind and thing. That's a particular demographic you're catering for, right? But as you said, they may not be the demographic with the money at the time. But if it's a Bougie Banton concert, they're gonna find the money though. So you should be catering to them, right? So again, the messaging has to do with the intended audience, the preferred audience, because if you use a mass medium, if you show ad on TV, I mean, you haven't targeted anybody there, unless you're targeted for news time, let's say, prime time, which is when you would expect, you know, the more mature, sober folks who want to listen to the news. If you have, you do something on a morning program, a popular morning program where it's popular music being played and things, that type of thing will work too, right? And then you can have the dead slots. Yeah, there are some dead, almost like housewife slots, you know, and it's only non-working people who will hear that. You know, that's a different demographic that I fit into as well. Any other questions, comments?
Well, just a comment.
Yeah, Bonnie.
Go ahead, Bonnie.
You sure you can let him speak? Okay, right. Just two things quickly. In terms of this marketing, there was an ad concerning things that Sopoida that speaks.
You're breaking up somewhat.
Right, there was an ad that speaks to a Sopoida. Right. And it was running in a soca rhythm. And the ad became so popular that I think Carnival last year, someone sang on that same rhythm to tell you how impactful that ad was. Right?
Not Glaze.
I think, how you call it? It's Glaze. Yeah.
Glaze, yeah.
Yes.
Even I know that.
And then I compared that also with, remember in 2017, Jamaica election, I don't know if you ever saw the picture. the Prime Minister took out a picture where he's sitting with some people on the side of the road, his pants pulled up, and he's barefooted.
Mm-hmm.
And that even if you put it on now online, it's still going viral again. I mean, it was just impactful.
There's a very, very powerful messages.
Yes.
As non-verbal, you didn't have to say anything.
Didn't say nothing. Yes.
You know who's good like that as well. Ralph Gonzalez. You know, he's finding himself in photo shoot type opportunities. You know, hanging out with the boys on the block. You know, I'm just one of the guys kind of attitude. You know, and then there are some ladies that couldn't do that to save their life because they were just so out of it. You know, you would know it's false. These people, you know, if you see them without us, you see them without a I don't have him down as a leader, so we won't discuss it. Right? No, there's some that they're so formal that even if you were to picture them at a sporting event, you still can't picture them in a polo, they'll be at a kickoff at the start of a sporting event in a full suit. You know? But that again is a matter of personality and people behind the scenes who are outfitting them and so on.
Mr. Maximo, you're so right, because Gonzalez don't know anything else.
But I mean, you can have whatever personal opinion you want on Ralph Gonzalez, right? But in terms of messaging, right, and taking opportunities to reinforce the fact that one, he purports to be one of the biggest regionalists in the world, right? I've always told people about instances when Ralph just stepped above the fray and above the crowd, right? At one time, I would think that as far as Trinidadians were concerned, now listen to this carefully, as far as Trinidadians were concerned, Ralph was probably, that's not nothing to do with what Vincentians thinking. As far as Trinidadians were concerned, Ralph was probably the most popular prime minister in the region. Because on any given day, and that's one of the things about Ralph, on any given day, our news would pick up a news reporter would just say, we have Prime Minister Gonzalez on the line. Prime Minister, and then he will start off, how my Trinity cousins going? Right? That's the first thing you say. That. Good night and how my Trinity, Trinidad is my place. So that'd be a whole couple seconds before you even ask him a question. And then any question you ask Ralph about, you have an opinion and you have an understanding of what's going on in the region. So they will call him and ask him, so and so happening, guy, and I think Ralph have an opinion on that. And he was one of the most accessible prime ministers. I could not see a TV6 or a TTT news person dialing up a Jamaican prime minister or a prime minister, but a Jamaican prime minister other than probably Michael Manley, and getting that kind of regional feel, right? Because I mean, those of you who follow regional politics will know that when it was the Bruce Golding era, I mean, these fellas are focused on kind of Jamaica first kind of attitude, that doesn't come across well. It doesn't come across well. I mean, whether they're genuine or not, it doesn't come across well. They don't have that personality. So that the messaging gets lost by the stiff way they operate. Right? So somebody was going to say something. Was it you, Kevin? Or Karen?
Yeah, Ralph must have that kind of inter-regional relationships, because Ralph manages all ministries that is there. He's not a single minister. He doesn't manage one ministry. He manages every single ministry.
Everyone, yeah. And that is a style that worked for him. Eh? So as I said, jump high or jump low. Whether you like the man or not, you have to look at the track record. He has been able to keep on him. I mean, he retired on him Eustace. And when you think about the power of communication and communication styling, right? since we get into a sort of mini political discussion, you look at people like late Compton out in St. Lucia. They come back in your 80s and just beat everybody back, right? These are people who had a communicating style that went down good with their particular public. And you have these highly trained, serious intellectuals who are serious professionals that were given a party, given a country to run and failed. And Vaughan Lewis was like that too. They gave Vaughan a government, and the first election he called, you lose. Same thing happened with Anna Eustace. Big, bright fellows from CDB and thing. In terms of professional qualifications, you can't be there. But when you put them in a political arena, they're dead in the water. Anna was never equal to Ralph Gonzalez. Not as a politician.
And I'm writing a paper on Caribbean theology.
Okay, all right.
I'm arguing the paper.
Ralph would feature highly in that.
But that's exactly the point I'm saying. I'm arguing the paper that
a Catholic in the region are Ralph. I'm not just saying that off the top of my head. I'm telling you from personal experience. I know how Ralph operates, right? When he spends a month or so in the monastery in Mount St. Benedict, he's not just doing it for fun, He's doing it to regroup, to write books and so that once you said theology and you said Caribbean politics, I know Ralph had to be at the top of your list.
Yes, man. So I argue for Ralph. It's not traditional to argue for him as that. And secondly to that, in 2017, there was this big crusade in St. Vincent, big crusade with Billy Graham and all this kind of stuff. And one of my pastor friends went to get a stadium, trying to get a stadium, and the person in charge was giving him real help. And, but he and Ralph like him, so to speak. Well, yes. So Ralph told him, anytime you have any issue with anything, just pick up your phone and call me.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone. He says, you're having some challenges with the getting the stadium or whatever. And Ralph saying, I'm giving the person. He said, give the man the stadium. End of that. and just like that. And Ralph, Ralph is an interesting guy, very interesting.
Right.
Ralph gave the crusade committee permission to do any amount of printing they want from the government printing. I'm telling you, he's a very interesting guy.
That's what I'm not here to be his judge, right? Yeah. He has been associated with a lot of shady stuff, but I'm telling you that your one-on-one interactions with him, you will leave there thinking that, he's the best thing that ever happened to St. Vincent since sliced bread, right?
Yes.
And he has the gift of gab. He has the gift of gab. He knows his history.
Yes.
I cannot see anyone in development work in the region not having a sense of history. Because all that we are trying to do now, people have tried to do before. So every marketing campaign that we come up with, unless you talk about the novel coronavirus, there's nothing going to be novel about it. Somebody would have done something similar before, right? What you're trying to do now is to put it into a context that appeals to the current population and respects the history of it. Because if you go up and pull up some marketing plan that flopped just after Gary time or flopped during the revolution, and you didn't have enough historical record to fathom that, then there are people in the society who are old enough to remember, and they'll hit you over the head with it, right? Because, they say you're either being insensitive, so you may make a glib statement and say, for the first time ever, we're going to be doing so, and then somebody will come and tell you, hey, during the revolution, we had 6 of those. Follow? Or we had 7 of those during the or 6 of that. Talk to me about it.
No, I said I grew up to Italy, not to grow. The so-called
Exactly. And as I said, even though you're a student of of development, because that's what CSOs are about. CSOs are about development. You can't be a student of development and not be concerned about people. And I think that's a point I made from one of the very first classes, right? So that if you're in a class dealing with development and you ignored the coronavirus and its impact, then it tells me that you're not really in development at all. Because development is a word for you. It has nothing to do with the real world and with real people. Because it was clear that this virus is going to make serious inroads into how we live, right? Now, I'd be lying if I said that I was able to predict every single thing about what's going to happen, right? And the whole national shutdown and all that. But we have been through this type of thing before. I'm sure I gave you all these stories about SARS, about me jumping on a plane in Trinidad, ending up in Guyana and have people come up with hazmat suit and thing to meet you. All because the flight originated in Canada. And SARS was big in Canada at the time. So even though I only boarded the plane in Trinidad, I had to go through the full works. When with Guyanese coming out as if they just had a anthrax outbreak on the flight or something, right? And people talking there very, very sharply, where we staying, and they want to be able to contact you if you have a fever, you must contact them, blah, 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 blah. I mean, COVID-19 is the extreme case of that, where they actually closed the airport, right? But in those days, they were actually going about, they weren't checking in, but they were asking you if you have a fever, blah, 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 and where you're staying, and they want to be able to contact you so that somebody from the Ministry of Health could contact you, all right? So, again, one of the reasons why I'm so interested in these sessions, these live sessions, where we can discuss something that there's no textbook out there on marketing for CSOs that would include Ralph, Suriname, Trump, SARS, Guyana, and Suriname. None. This is our collective experience. So the only reason we meet, for me, the only reason that justifies us meeting and you not just buying a textbook on marketing is so that we could filter out all those experiences. So that Karen could talk about, his experience in Suriname, so that Vonnie could talk about it, so that, Kenya or Sabi or Sharama could talk about X, Y, and Z, right? That is the benefit of this type of sharing, this awakening of your emotional intelligence. This is not only about being able to regurgitate, if somebody asks you, so you're studying marketing, what's the definition of marketing? For the times that you have been interacting with me, have you ever seen me go about talking about a definition for this and a definition for that? You could get that in that text, you could get that from Dr. Google anytime. If you really want to know what it is, just go Google and ask. But you will not get in Google this kind of interaction that we are having, right? And that is why we want to spend an hour and a half, on a Tuesday and a Thursday to talk generally about marketing and more specifically about marketing for CSOs. Okay? People?
Okay. Recently, when you mentioned from the last class, you mentioned the Prime Minister of Trinidad in a video in his backyard gardening. I recently looked at the video and I actually liked it. He was actually promoting backyard gardening and also eating healthy and so forth. And I think that is something that most countries are going to be pushing. So, and he as a patron in that aspect, in that scenario is really, really good because he is a prime minister, So if a regional initiative could be launched from that, it was really good.
Yeah, just maybe because I'm too closely involved, I know some of the the opposition leader had done similar. His mic is off. Somebody out in the world.
Kieran needs to go muting off.
Yeah, right. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I don't know how many of you picked it up, but there were some comments in Facebook commented on the fact that two prime ministers had done something like that, and Dr. Mitchell hadn't done anything like that. Did you all see that? Did any of you see that?
He doesn't have to do it because it's already done. It will just look like a follow fashion thing, and we don't want the follow fashion thing. That is just me.
I know. But before you jump down the throat, let me just say that.
That was said from the Vincent chant?
No. We didn't do that.
No, I'm talking about the Vincent chant in this chat. She is defending Kit Mitchell as if
Kenya Gill, take solace in the fact that at one time, the Grenadines people controlled the entire Eastern Caribbean. Because at one time, your own, I can't be disrespectful and call him by his nickname. Your Prime Minister from Carriacou.
You mean H.A. Blaze?
Yes, right. H.A. Blaze, right. Blaze was from Carriacou. Son Mitchell was from Beckwith. And Arthur, Napoleon, Raymond Robinson was from Tobago. So that there was a talk in the Caribbean that, that Grenadines, because Tobago is considered part of the Grenadines, depending on who you talk to, right? So that the fact that Grenadines men were controlling the whole area, right?
That's interesting.
And this guy was born in, this guy who was Prime Minister of St. Lucia was born in not Carriacou, where was he from? Compton, John wasn't born in St. Lucia.
Petit Martinique?
I think he was born somewhere in the Grenadines. He wasn't born in St. Unlike the US, where you have to be born in the US to be head of state, to be the head of the executive. There's no such ruling in the Caribbean. So Kenya Gill, you can be Prime Minister. End of discussion.
And she could also give Kieran a serious lawsuit in a Vincent chant.
And she could also
Kenya know how she, you understand? She Grenadian thing stamp proper. We get this thing from.
Of course she stamp proper.
Serious lawsuit in Kieran.
I am a CARICOM lady. I'm a CARICOM lady.
You see? You see? She preferred to be called CARICOM lady. You see that?
Yes, I'm a CARICOM person. Regional integration.
Stephen.
Most of my friends say, I'm Trinidadian by birth, but Caribbean by choice. End of discussion.
Let me say this, Stephen. This marketing class has kind of attuned my mind, right? As we speak, I think about the message that Cuba sends. And they send this message with the army of white coats and always seem to contradict it with, instead of using, you have weapons of mass destruction, but we have army of white.
We have weapons of mass killing. But but don't forget that with the same speed and the same determination that Cuba will send Doctors Without Borders, the major fight in Angola and Zimbabwe was fought by Cubans.
Yes.
There was a time when they were prepared to back up this solidarity talk with their lives, literally, right?
Yes.
Now they put their lives in harm's way by going out as doctors, similar to Doctors Without Borders and that type of thing. So the message has been consistent in that we are non-aligned and we care about, third world people, right? How they go about enforcing or endorsing that has changed over the years. So there's a time when they would send freedom fighters, and now they're sending healers.
Right.
But the message has been consistent. You have to get it. You have to get it. And until recently, the Republic down in Venezuela had the same sort of messaging as well, right? And that's how Alba came about in the first place. Okay.
And
anybody else?
If you permit me again, and going back to the situation in America, you saw how persons trying to make their voices be heard, right, would have changed the mode of things on the country.
Yep.
I'm talking about the situation with the unrest recently.
And
what it has resulted in, now, they're on the lockdown, total lockdown.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a even longer class in marketing.
I know. I don't want to touch it but I just relating it to marketing and the messaging, message and the messaging. That's what I'm relating it to.
But and one of the quotes that stuck with me over the years is that sometimes the loudest message you can send is through silence.
Amen.
There are times when just by staying above the fray, you send a different type of message. Because there was a time when staying silent was seen as cowardice. But there are also opportunities when staying silent is the most strength you can ever have, right? And just recently, in another context, one of my colleagues in Trinidad was writing an article on campaign finance reform, and the whole business of the Truth and Reconciliation movement in South Africa came up. And it's strange that both of us were in South Africa. The last time I was in South Africa was with him, right? He's a journalist colleague. And we saw firsthand the kind of reverence people have for Madiba, for Mandela, right? And that whole Truth and Reconciliation thing was called for a lot of strength. I mean, Mandela has displayed strength, from time immemorial. From the time he went to tea with Pig Bota's wife, that was seen around the world as, the ultimate act of grace. As a man who had his struggle days and so, but he was able to sit down with his little old white lady, and totally forgive that, And the perception, not the perception, but the reality was that if he could undergo 27 years of imprisonment and come out willing to stretch a hand forth, you who just get your ass for 5 years really shouldn't be picking up a gun and carrying on, because it's almost as if you don't have your right, If anybody had a right to kill white people in South Africa, it would have been Mandela, right? You imprison the man for all these years, doing all kind of injustice. You suffer for 5 years in a township, perhaps, or maybe 15 years in a township, but that doesn't give you the right to come out and say, well, what we're supposed to do is pick up arms and kill every white person we see, right? So, again, the messaging, you want to be consistent in the messaging, right? When Karen challenged me last week, about consistency in terms of maintaining a profile, if you like, right? And saying that, he couldn't see how Carnival could come, could fit into that profile. You have to be consistent in your views. And if you are a moderate, then, you can accommodate the fact that there are times when you have to behave stush, and there are times when you can literally free up, within limits, and still not be inconsistent in your messaging. So that the day after I played Juve, I could go into somebody's office and say, I'm here to represent my CSO to do X, Y, and Z. And there's nothing that I would have done on Juve morning that reduces my capacity to do that, right? Apart from the fact that I played. If it can't take somebody to play Juve, then it can't remember. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments? All right. I want to share. Kevin, you have something? Oh. Well, then, if not, I want to share my screen with you and take a look at. His mic is on. So where? And Sherwin, is this that you know?
What you want water?
Prince Sherwin's computer, your mic is on. All right, well, we'll have to wait and find out who that is. Okay, guys, so I'm going to be sharing my screen with you. Remember the first day I told you that although I subscribe to the 4 C's of marketing, that there's a time when the 4 P's of marketing were the real cutting edge. But I found this website that deals specifically with NGOs, and they follow a 4P principles. And I thought it would be nice for balance, for us to just go through it. And then maybe on Tuesday, I can reinforce why I prefer the 4 C's as opposed to the 4 P's. Okay? Any comment before we switch over to that?
So I even pull up another site where they were talking about the 4 P's, and then they also discussed rethinking the 4 P's. So I even went a little further.
Right, right. Okay, okay. Well, what I want you to do is after share it with me so I can put it on the group chat.
Sure.
Right? Okay, so let me just pull up my website. This it's called Funds for NGOs, and I'm going to share my screen and we'll take a look at it. Let me see. Can you guys see that? Funds for NGOs. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I'm seeing
right.
it.
Yes, I can see.
Okay. Let me the entire screen is in the entire screen. No. Parts of it are blocked.
You can small it a bit.
I'm gonna make it bigger when we start reading.
Right.
Okay, so this is the site. I'm gonna send you the link after the class, right? When I share this thing with you.
Okay, sir.
All right. Now, how marketing and communication strategies can help NGOs achieve fundraising success, right? Everybody hear me and seeing?
Yeah, we hearing you and we seeing quite well.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm hearing you. Very
We're
good.
talking about a marketing mix for NGOs. And you see here, and these are not my highlights, these are highlights on the website. When you check the actual website, you'll see what I'm talking about. Marketing is a very important function in business practices. It entails making a customer aware of the proposition of a product or service, making them buy the product or service, and ultimately building a brand. I want to stress that. Now that isn't highlighted, but you know me and branding. Eh? So in nonprofits too, the marketing principles hold good because there's requirements of funds to carry on existing functions and to build capacities for the future. So the donor is our customer here, and the cause or project is a product. Let me repeat that. So the donor is our customer here, and the cause or project is a product. Of course, what they're referring to as a cause or project is what we keep insisting is our mission. All right? So research and evidence has shown that market-oriented organizations which understand the target audience thoroughly are the most successful ones. How would one attract a customer, and in our case a donor, if there are no efforts made towards building a brand and a customer base? So let me repeat that. How would one attract a donor if there are no efforts made towards building a brand and a customer base? Now, people, what we're seeing here is what we have been saying from the start. So let us understand the applicability of marketing principles for NGOs. To understand why they need marketing and why it is necessary to realize the importance of concerted efforts and allocating resources towards it. And the marketing mix. They talk about the 4 P's of marketing. Now, marketing mix is used as a tool by the managers to design marketing plans and to achieve the desired results. It comprises of these, and this is where they go into the 4 P's, right? So they talk about product, place, price, and promotion. Drawing a parallel with NGOs. please know that here we are considering the donor corresponding term for the customer and not the beneficiaries. Yeah? Everybody got that? Right. So the product of an NGO is the cause or idea it supports, or a core program or project. We know that many NGOs, work on the same cause, like child education, health, or women empowerment, etc. One needs to study the models adopted by other NGOs to have a clear understanding of what differentiates them. See that word coming up again? I mean, are we on point or what? Remember we kept saying that, you know, there must be something that differentiates your CSO from all of them. Yeah? What is the unique?
Yes, sir. What makes it unique?
What is the unique proposition in terms of benefit to the beneficiaries or otherwise? I mean, as I say, it's as if we were reading this all the time. So when they refer to price in the NGO context, they're talking about the budget. Is the budget to be asked to the project or program cost? NGOs need to have the ability to explain what change the donation will bring about. Again, we did this when we talked about writing a project proposal. In case of corporate donors, NGOs must project these costs as an investment. Do I take a bow again? NGOs must project these costs as an investment, because remember, we are not, what are we not doing? On the very first class, anybody? What are we not doing when we
We're not doing anything free.
We are not begging.
Yes, that's right.
Begging. We are asking.
We're not begging.
Begging,
And everything have a value, yes.
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 Diego, read it again. NGOs must project these costs as an investment, as the donor company has potential gains from the investment. Ta-da-da. Like positive results for the brand. Apart from the social return on investment, NGOs need to have the ability to demonstrate to the corporate donor how they can do well by doing good. How they can do well by doing good for the society. And use the business case to pitch for funding. I mean, is that gospel or what? I mean, we have been harping on that all the time, you know. And when it comes to promotion, this refers to the methods of communication that we've been talking about whole afternoon, that a marketer may use to provide information to different stakeholders, that will be stratifying the target audience, to provide information to different stakeholders about the product or service. In case of NGOs, promotional and communication material, including the website, social media platforms, and also proposals, play roles in promotion of the cause. So let's just think about that for a little bit. So you're saying that when you do a proposal, even if that investment doesn't come true, just the quality of that proposal is part of your marketing strategy. Did you get that? Did you see that?
Yes, sir, you're correct.
The website, social media platforms, and also proposals play a role in promotion of the cause. So that you may easily find that you've written 6 proposals. And as far as you know, none of them got funding. But what you just had was 6 opportunities to market your CSO. So even if the donor that you wrote it to, the investor that you sent it to, did not take it up, you still have like a billboard sitting in their office. And at some point, someone else or some other entity might look at that and say, you know, this is a cause that we could invest in. So that even though you didn't get the initial support that you were looking for, the fact that there's a document out there that somebody could call up a year from now or maybe 2 years from now is part of your whole marketing plan. These days, new innovative approaches are being used for nonprofits for promotion of social causes, like walkathons by NGOs, right? And I give some examples here. And then, of course, you have social media campaigns to increase awareness, but it's also gathering resources like funds and volunteers. And of course, you know, you have this crowdfunding platforms now where you can actually raise money online. And with the soon to come DXCD, or Digital Eastern Caribbean Dollar, it's going to be even easier to donate to some of these causes. Because what they will be doing is a straight wallet-to-wallet transfer from your digital wallet to the wallet of the CSO that you're looking to support. So I think exciting times are ahead for CSOs, especially in the Eastern Caribbean monetary region, where you guys seem to be well advanced in your digital currency initiatives. And if I am to take the governor at his word earlier today, by July 20th, the pilot is going to be launched. So that there will in fact be in Grenada and 3 other countries digital currency transactions taking place. And place is the final P. The place denotes the ease of access to the product for the consumer. And in the 4 C's, places is seen as convenience, right? So for businesses, distribution channels and resources are required are planned under this head. In case of development projects by NGOs, current CSR trends, you know, you guys remember what CSR is, corporate social responsibility, suggests that the corporate donors look for a project implementation site that is close and convenient to the donor to visit, monitor, or engage employees. So when you want to have Republic Bank invest in a cleanup in Soubise, wherever, then you want to target the right branch of Republic Bank, where it will be easier, ostensibly, for the employees from that branch to be part of the cleanup so that they can show their corporate social responsibility. You won't want to be targeting necessarily a Granans branch to do something in St. Patrick or vice versa. All right. So marketing, segmentation, and communication strategy for nonprofits. Lessons from business organizations. And you guys will have a chance to read through this. I mean, it is already 6:24. I wanted to give you a little chance to see how other agencies, other countries actually tackle these things. So let's just take a quick read. Nonprofits or non-governmental organizations form the 3rd sector of the society, as they are institutions and bodies which are neither governmental nor related to the business sector. They work towards addressing the social problems which remain largely unaddressed by the state and markets, thus becoming the voice of the citizens on various platforms. Now, it's just a fancy way of saying dealing in development. Despite the good causes NGOs work for, there's a stranglehold of the government or state on these functions, especially their finances. This is primarily to ensure that the funds are actually being used for the genuine purposes. That is where all the regulations come in. So that most governments, most jurisdictions have regulations in place to keep track of these funds that are being raised allegedly for the promotion of environmental management, etc. This is primarily to ensure that the funds are actually being used for the genuine purposes. Even the donors keep an eye on the usage of funds. So spend on functions like marketing, communication are seldom considered in line with the objects of an NGO, considering the opportunity cost. See, that is a very important little section there. Thus, spends or the spending of cash or the spending or investing of money on functions like marketing and communication are seldom considered to be in line with the objects of an NGO, considering the opportunity cost. You need to spend some time on that. Because if you approach a donor to invest in your marketing plan, they may not be as interested because you have not made the link between this marketing plan and your actual mission. In everything that we do, the mission should be central. So marketing is a means that end. We don't want to have a marketing department to be able to say that, you know, we are such a big CSO that we have to have a separate division for marketing. No. We want to have marketing because it is one of the ways to ensure that we communicate with the public as to what our mission is and what our success has been to date. So that even in terms of, and I keep using SGP as Small Grants Project as our base, but this is the organization that is funding our very existence right now. Right? When we talk to them, when we go to talk to them, when we go to negotiate with them, we can't have an item as marketing and expect to get funding for that in and of itself. The marketing must be seen as a means to an end. Everybody with me? I think I need to.
Yeah, I'm listening.
I need to stop sharing the screen because I want to discuss something with you guys almost face to face, as it were. What I have not discussed with you yet is the level of interest that small grants are showing in this program. I've tried to tone it down. I sort of more or less wanted Mrs. Edwards to come join a class and say it herself. But they're really seriously considering investing in this first cohort, even further than your scholarship. Now, I'm not at liberty to fully discuss how significant the support will be, but I can tell you that they are quite keen. There are negotiations now with Mrs. Alexander in terms of what further ways they can help the students to complete this course, because they really want to see this. I shouldn't say the first cohort, not as if they want to see the first cohort and then stop, but they want to be sure that this first cohort gets all the support it needs to finish, right?
Oh, that sounds interesting.
It's more than interesting. As I say, it's just that it's not my call, right? And I don't want to put words in Mrs. Edwards' mouth.
People don't go saying Apple and Acer, please don't.
See what? People don't go saying. You obviously know something I don't know. But anyhow, the thing is that there is some serious consideration going on in terms of, because this is seen as a flagship project. And I think I told you guys that from the beginning, right? And the fact that Dr. Telesford came in that evening, literally promoted the thing, and said, this is something that he has had, and we have had, we did a lot of work on this. So you guys are benefiting from, from work we did from 2017 and 2018, etc., right? And even while I was based in Barbados, I was still working on these, putting together these courses so that we could
actually, I have one problem with that.
Please.
I mean, we love the course and we love everything about it. But what happens if one of us decide that we have to migrate for the next year and a half? The 3 years is really a lot. I mean,
for it online.
I was about to say virtual platform.
Virtual platform. No, there's something more behind that, Karen. I mean, I don't think that's a statement floating like that. What do you think? You think the degree should have been offered in a shorter time frame?
Yeah, I think so.
That could turn out to be inconsiderate to other people who have other stuff doing it. Remember, you are not full-time students.
You're sure right.
People have jobs, families, all sorts of things to balance.
Yeah, and other schools.
And other schools, yeah.
And some of us will be moving to other countries, to finish other schools.
Right. I mean, so I mean, it's remember it is we're dealing with a collective good. Unless all 24 were going to be migrating, in which case, you know, they could probably just buy me a ticket and follow up and do it wherever you go. You know, but I mean, I'm not trying to sound cool or anything. It's just that when something like this is being designed, you can't cater for every eventuality. You know, you can't cater for the fact that 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 people will get scholarships and go away. You know, what we can do, what I can promise you, is that the courses you leave with will serve you in good stead wherever, right? And hopefully, what we're able to learn here will be easily transferable regardless of what type of course you're doing, right? Because yeah, I am teaching a course on CSOs, and that is not my background. Right? My background is in science. If at my graduation, I didn't graduate, but I didn't go to the graduation, but if in the year that I graduated, somebody said, you know, you're going to be teaching a course on CSOs, I'll laugh because that's not my background. My background is in science. Yeah, sorry, Glenda.
That's okay. So I was thinking more or less like I was making a joke at first, but I was thinking my joke was not thinking about Apple and Acer, right? I was more thinking about a next level, bachelor's. You understand?
Okay, yeah.
That's what I was.
Nah, I can't go there. For a couple of reasons. One, me and Brighton have to teach that. And 2, that wasn't part of the original application, right? And
that's just me thinking, you know, wishful thinking.
But TAMCC doesn't offer it. So it would mean it'd have to link to another university or something, you know.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
You're so right, but Steve, I'm thinking that, you know, at least 2 other students or 3 other students from this course could have carried on to something bigger. You know, we could negotiate for that.
Yeah. Well, that is what
Kieran inside my head, Kieran.
But I'm supposed to be teaching you guys that. I'm supposed to be teaching you guys how to approach that, right? I mean, you know, my role is to expose you to, you know, the ways to do that, right? But not to put ideas in your head, but just to expand your opportunities if those happen to be the ideas in your head. Ms. Simon Charles. Natasha.
Afternoon, sir.
Well, it's good night by now. I heard your excuse for being late, and it was accepted. But what is not being accepted is joining this thing and not having your camera on as one of the instigators.
Okay, so I'll see what I could do about that. Let me go put on my makeup.
No. I thought you said don't put on your clothes and now we're on TED. Don't bother. We'll take your word for it, Natasha. It's all right. Yeah, so Karen and Glenda, those would have been that would be my, you know, take on it. But as I said, you know, it is really exciting news. I'm looking forward to see what they come up with that I can share with you, know, at least in this semester.
But I'm excited about this course, as you can see, and I've gone ahead of things and, you know, move to different stages because I'm exploring, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that we had to work before we run it. So
yes. So I'm excited. You see, Vaughn is writing a whole, you know, bit there. You know, understand what I mean?
Yeah.
This has inspired a lot of us, you know.
But as somebody who started off with a G, I know you have to make sure that, you know, you keep your grades up and, you know that you qualify. That you at least qualify the goal. Right? Because just remember, you're the only person who had a G, and you're still here. So that had to be a good sign, right?
That should tell you I ain't giving up at all, G-Fa, you know?
You ain't
giving up at all.
They give me a complimentary pass and you're still
yes, G-Fa great, G-Fa don't give up.
Fair enough.
They just rebranded English G-Fa.
Bonnie, what's that?
She just rebranded English G-Fa don't give up.
Yeah. I didn't even want to go down that road. All I say was
Honey, if you know how to read that, don't give up. It's an X in front of give up. That's all it needs.
It's a digital writing. Don't go down that road. Yeah, so as I said, I just wanted to, you know, to share that with you that we are from the administration end, even though they
Okay,
may have
I'm
the
back.
hiccups, with classes and and who could register for what, that is beyond my control. What is within my control is to make sure that I make a strong case for any support that comes your way. All right. But the more administrative stuff, I can't get involved in that. All right. So again, what has come out from that website that I'm going to share with you is that you want to be sure that your communication strategy is on point. And some of the things we discussed earlier, before we got into the more formal sounding parts of the marketing, like communications and how you stratify your audience, get the audience in the segments. How do you understand what particular demographics, what will appeal to particular demographics, right? And I want to go back to Kevin's point about using rap music and youngsters and so on. There's a place and a segment for all of these activities, right? And we should not let our own personal taste dictate that. Like, I absolutely dislike, I shouldn't say hate, but dislike with a passion, country music, right? I could never understand where country music fit into the whole scheme of things, but that's just me. In the same way, I'm willing to tolerate Grenadians and Trinidadians who don't like calypso and who don't like soca. I figure, to each his own. And just saying that it's not something that would appeal to me. If you want to do a good ad for me, I don't think you could do it in country and Western style and get me to stay awake, right? Or to stay interested. All right? So you must understand the population that you're targeting, and be prepared to expand your mind. As we're talking about demographics and expanding and so and dislike for calypso and soca and things. I am old enough to remember when gospel started, right? Here you had two genres of music that you didn't think would ever gel. And just so, perhaps, you have gospel. And what helped, I shouldn't say help, but what helped to put a human faces on the transition, especially between gospel and reggae, right? Was people like Vonnie, you may remember Lieutenant Stitchie. Who went on to be a major gospel act. When Stitchie, do you know that his name wasn't Stitchie, it was Citri? You ever heard the story about behind Stitchie?
No, I never checked the story.
Like you used to follow up, you used to eat a lot of citrus and things, and they used to call him Citri, C-I-T-R-I, but it morphed into Stitchie, right? So it was, and in terms of messaging, what I like about dealing with you guys is that our topic is so broad and so wide open that we can end up talking about Lieutenant Stitchie. I'm talking about marrying media to send a message across, because gospel also reaches a certain segment of the audience. You get the gospel crowd, and you can still get some of the Kaiso crowd. So a Devon Seas and a Devon O'Connor could marry those two. Come from a gospel so frame. A Christian movement could start off as a very successful road march winner and thing, and then go directly into gospel. He's not even into gospel, so he's into gospel, real gospel, right? So you're not even transitioning on the hub. So here we are in our marketing class talking about Chris Tambu movement. Under normal circumstances, we ain't supposed to be talking about Tambu in our marketing class. It just goes to show that in terms of mixed messaging and how you marry your communication style and communication media, what the possibilities are. And as I said, that's one of the things I like about this course and the approach that we have taken collectively. Because I couldn't take this approach by myself. In the first day we came to class, I did not give you a definition for marketing, and 2 or 3 people in class said, "Sir, you didn't give you a definition yet." Then I had to change my whole style, and take out a textbook, you know, and tell you, well, let's read from chapter 3 up to chapter 4 or something. I don't know that I'd probably quit, you know, unless somebody else come and teach the class, because this would not have been a good fit for me, right? So we came up with this approach to the class. And every year is going to be different, right? There's going to be different dynamics, you know. Not every class will have a Norja and a Natisha and a Glenda and a Vonnie, you know. They will have something else, you know. And we have to work with that. Or a Belinda, you know what I mean? We had to work with that. So in terms of messaging and the medium that you use, the media that you use, you know, one of these things that really interests me as a person who was you know, spent a lot of time in Jamaica and so, is the power of messaging in Jamaica, you know, and not just in Jamaica generally, especially in the Rastafari community. I'm going to leave you all with this one. There was a very popular program on TV back in the, I would think, early 90s, coming out of Jamaica. It was really produced in the UK, but shown on Jamaican TV, and then at some points it was shown on regional TV as well. But
Oliver Lads?
Huh?
Oliver Lads?
Oliver Lads. Well, I actually saw him in person, but I mean, no, yeah, Oliver Lads did that syndicated thing through the Caribbean. But this was a reggae program. And the name, tell me if any of you ever saw this program. It was called Reggae Strong. Any of you, Bonnie, was that, when you were in Jamaica, was that featured?
No, I did some research recently, but I'm not too familiar.
Okay, whenever you get a chance, you know, after the class.
It's definitely.
But for the rest of you who have not experienced Jamaica in the way that, I suppose, Bonnie and I would have experienced Jamaica, because Jamaica is an experience. Eh? Jamaica is not a place you understand in 2 days.
Experience.
You have to be immersed in Jamaican culture to really get it, you know. But this program was called Reggae Strong. And I don't know what possessed me. Some evening I was watching the show, and they did a little background interview with one of the producers. And some white boy made the mistake of asking them, why the name Reggae Strong? Oh, you're sitting down? Everybody sitting down? Here what the Ras hit me on TV. But it wasn't live, but I mean, it come across on TV. I sit down there watching this thing. So the white boy asked this for, you know, so why is the program called Reggae Strong? So, well, and it going into a whole long set of Jamaican drawl and thing and carry on and thing and I and whatnot and whatnot and whatnot. But when he reached wrong to that part, he said, well, them see, we have to call it a weekly program, see? It'll be reggae week, regular week, Reggae Strong. And that is how them call it, the name Reggae Strong. Because it had no way they're going to call anything with Reggae Week. So them boys say, you can't call it Reggae Week, it's Reggae Strong. And that is how the program became. So I'm just saying, a simple thing like that, something that, so the average person, the average West Indian would not take a Calypso Week program, you know, a weekly Calypso program, you know, it's a weekly Calypso program, you know. Nobody ain't gonna think that, you know, you're trying to say that Calypso Week. But them Rasta, them fellas, man, get real upset there. You see it, regular week, Reggae Strong. That is how the program became known as Reggae Strong, because it had no way them white boys in the UK could have produced a program called Reggae Week. You understand? And it just goes to show the power of the imaging, you know, that the way they process things, I mean, to put reggae and week in the same sentence or juxtapose just doesn't go, you know, it just doesn't follow, right? And
it spells different.
It's organized in a particular kind of way. Sorry?
It is spelled different.
I missed that, sorry.
It's spelled different, W-E-E-K.
Nobody care about that, you said. Nobody care about that. As far as he's concerned, once they say it over the TV, you know, stand by for Reggae Week. You know what I would mean? No. My boy, tell them, you know, like in a week, like it's strong. Right? So I must, if I look, I'm trying to look it up online and see if there's any reference to it when it was shown on TV and share the link with you. Because as
it's a lot to do with association, just associating reggae next to week, not just a literal W-E-A-K.
And he was upset, eh? He was
yes.
He could even conceptualize. But he could even conceptualize calling something reggae week, right? In other words, that would have been almost like heresy if you had a program called Reggae Week, right? So the white boys and the producers must sit down and type up that and thing, but before they get past the Jamaicans who are performing and thing like that, the Rasta rested on them and tell them, reggae now weak, reggae strong, and end of discussion. All right, so I'm going to see if I find that link, because I think it was in the early 1990s. I would have seen the program in Jamaica.
Steve, would it have been from late 80s? I see something on mine from 1987 to 1992.
All right, early 1990s, right? Cool, that was it. Okay. Was it called Reggae Strong?
Reggae Strong.
There you go. See, I mean, one of the things I realized...
It's in the chat. It's posted in the chat.
I think you guys realize this by now, that, I mean, with all these chippings I'll be talking and things, anytime I give you an example, this is a real life, hard and fast example. Are we making some of the stuff you really can't make up? Let's face it, a lot of this stuff that we discuss here, you can't make that stuff up, right? And that is what gives it the, not just the memorable feel, but the fact that this is real life we deal with, right? And each of these instances, each of these examples is just another way that you could use the information you're sharing in your own sphere of activity. Whether you work in an office, or you work in an NGO, or you work in the health ministry, anywhere, you work in statistics, wherever, you can apply each of these things on a daily basis. Because development is about people, and people is about life. Real life experiences, real people.
That sentence you just said, well, it's been repeating, development is about people.
Yeah.
Is that yours original?
No, I don't think so. No, seriously. I mean, as a man who likes to claim copyright, if I even had the slightest thought that I was the first person to say that, I'll keep it. No, just something I pick up over the years. I mean, I have no idea where it came from, but I know it's a fact.
Right. Yeah.
Because I mean, I live it, I understand it, you know. But I'm certainly not the first person to have said it, obviously, right? But this whole thing about, you know, you have to be people focused. I mean, there was a time when, you know, companies used to have that logo, you know what I mean, or that saying, you know, they were people focused. Everybody else people focused, blah, 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 blah. But people focus is what development is all about. That is why, you know, all the old time debates about growth and development, because you can have jobless growth. You have a country earning millions, billions of dollars, and it still doesn't filter down to the man in the street, literally to the man in the street. You can have a tourism industry that brings in billions of dollars, and the same billions of dollars come in, leak back out through remittances and through purchasing food from overseas and equipment from overseas and expertise from overseas, because the leadership of these big hotel chains and things tend not to be local, right? So when you talk about development, you're talking about people, you're talking about life and real life experiences and association. That is what I promised you guys on the first day, and that is what I'm hoping to keep delivering. So, thanks for your attention over this long hour and a half or 2 hours or however long it was. Almost 2 hours now. It used to take me for 2 hours, but wow. Anyhow, so thank you for bearing with me for the 2 hours, guys, ladies, and I will see you on Tuesday, right? I'm going to post the recording as usual I'm going to post the links. And Belinda, you said you found the Reggae Strong link. So please post it.
I put it in the Zoom chat.
In the Zoom?
Yeah.
No, we're not going to see this one in the recording. So you might have to put it in the
Okay.
WhatsApp chat. Okay?
Okay.
Link.
Okay. All right, guys. So have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night,
Good night,
everyone.
sir.
Everyone.
And again, I apologize. I'm a little distracted, you know.
Hey, I was waiting for Natisha to apologize too, but that didn't come in. But
Natisha.
All right, Mr. Rankin, have a good night.
You too.
Natisha will be still putting on she makeup sign and she answer you.
Y'all, I just there on the foundation.
You waiting for your apology personal, you know?
The bone we have to put is with the lady with a new computer. You know, this is people get a new computer. They can't sign on in their own name. They sign on in the name of the computer. Okay. They have no idea when it's on from when it's off. But I'm marking them. The name comes up now, but
the new computer, I tell you.
FedEx working.
The Acer and the Mac.
FedEx working. Bye.
Bye, sir. Have a good evening, everyone.
See you again.
Good night.
Good night.